Hello everyone and welcome to another game here in this King of the Hill style, making sure to constantly change the initial map starting location as for some reason YouTube has a little bit of difficulty trying to decode my new encoding format. So that's why you may see a little bit of gray at first, but then after that things do look a little bit more polished. Things look a little bit more smooth as the game is getting underway. This is going to be played here on Antigua Shipyard. I know it doesn't look like the normal Antigua Shipyard. There is a little bit of difference in terms of texture on the map and the terrain on the map, but besides that, everything pretty much is Antigua Shipyard. Forced cross spawns, not too out of the ordinary here, as we're going to see SCVs just continue to mine away. This is a Terran versus Terran mirror match. I believe one of the players is named Special Tactics, and I believe the blue Terran player was the player that I played last time, I think this was Special Tactics or Special Don versus Ready to Build as the red Terran player. Hopefully I don't get too confused, and I will just most likely refer to them as red versus blue. Now, Terran versus Terran matchups are generally a little bit longer. We're going to see an SCV now make sure that there are no proxy barracks whatsoever on this map, and always on the lookout for some cheese. The barracks on the front doors most likely will follow it up with a supply depot here. There is still this fog of war area here where this SCV is currently on the lookout, making sure that there is nothing to be spotted. And now the red Terran player should have a slight advantage in terms of overall economy just because he hasn't scouted out at the beginning portion of the game. Now, Terran versus Terran players, there is generally a lot of just macroing and a lot of development before the players are ready to fully invest into each other. Both players, or in Terran versus Terran, a small number of units are able to do a large amount of damage through harassment. Blue Flame Hellions, Banshees, both very, very effective tactics that don't really destroy an army, but they are able to really slow down the economy and end up winning the game in a different route. We'll see if we are going to see that route perhaps as we are going into a new command center being built over here on the low ground. Meanwhile, it looks like the blue Terran player opting to go for tech instead. We may see a factory. We already see a factory, so we may see a refinery being placed down soon, as we already have two Marines chasing away this one SCV here. SCV already low on hit points. The Marines trying to catch up. It looks like the SCV will be able to get back in on the inside. There is going to be a Marine on the ramp, and that Marine may be able to get some damage here. Yes, already stutter stepping its way back, taking down the SCV. Nicely done, denying some scouting. And now pretty much the red Terran player knows that he has an expansion at least halfway up and running, and really there's not much that blue can do about it. We are going into a one gas expand by the blue Terran player. It doesn't look like he's going to be following up with anything, as we now have the factory building a reactor. So the factory now building a reactor. We'll see what the barracks decides to do, as the barracks is now lifted off and starting to roam around. We may see a lot more Hellions trained up, but normally I don't see the barracks floated off. You can see that there is a barracks off over here. It is going to be landing, perhaps adding on a tech lab. We are finally getting up that second refinery here, and with an add-on, it would perhaps show a little bit of what the blue Terran player is trying to do. So far in the bases, we are going into that standard 3 racks play for the red Terran player after the expansion. Meanwhile, we are going into a tech lab, and a little curious as to why blue decided to delay his tech lab. He had the resources for it, and there is a scanner sweep. Does he spot what's going on over here? Yes, he does, just a little bit out of the way, and he does spot what exactly is going down. Tech lab, a medevac now being trained. There are going to be some Hellions perhaps for a cover fire drop. Not exactly sure how successful that will be, as there are a lot of Marines on the front door. Combat shield being researched by the red Terran player. Meanwhile, the barracks is lifting off the tech lab, now not being used by any building. The starport most likely will try to train up some Banshees, or perhaps even go for a Raven, as now the Hellions taking a little bit of damage trying to poke up that ramp. So far we are seeing very different strategies coming in from both of these players. as we are going into an engineering bay and a factory. There are a lot of Marines on the front door, and the sheer number of these Marines means that there's no real way that the Hellions can really try to sneak up here and get in a lot of damage. However, the Hellions are going to do another drop straight inside the base. 2 SCVs, 3 SCVs already taken down, more SCVs getting destroyed, and with so many SCVs destroyed, this is going to really hurt the medevac now picking up all of those units there, as the harvester count is 32 to 26, more of a catch-up than anything else. Only 4 harvesters were taken out there. And I think if it was actually handled a little bit better, perhaps the drop could have been executed in a way where more damage was actually dealt. There are still Marines up on the high ground here, and now Marines ready to prepare themselves inside a bunker. Now the medevac looking to drop once more. Will those Hellions get some damage? It looks like they will be doing exactly that, trying to take down an SCV, able to do so, getting some easy damage onto some Marines as they were all lining up closely together. And now we see a starport not currently being built, and an engineering bay currently not researching anything either. It looks like the Banshee will be coming along the backside. The cloak has not finished. The Banshee has to be very careful, getting in some easy damage there. The Banshee now has cloak, I believe. No, not quite yet. Needing about another second or so. And here we go. The cloak has been completed. Orbital command getting the scanner sweep, taking down that Banshee. The Banshee didn't do enough damage, and that was really just poorly played. The orbital command had enough energy, and it was able to just scanner sweep. The Marines got almost underneath that Banshee, and with that was able to use that scanner sweep to destroy that Banshee there. New Banshee now perhaps going to come in from the other side, but there is already a missile turret quickly deciding to turn away and also activating the cloak. Is it going to be enough? The Banshee trying to utilize that superior range, trying to get in some damage here, now making his way back over. How much damage can be dealt? Perhaps trying to get some damage onto these Marines, as the Marines are just dancing back and forth, and this Banshee pretty much unable to do any serious damage. So far, we are at 2 bases to 2, with a 3rd command center already being built by Red. Red should be able to take this 9 o'clock expansion here and then start getting in some siege tanks, but instead he is going to have to deal with Blue Flame Hellions. Siege tanks also being trained, as Blue now going into siege tanks. Alright, so Blue is over here on the... Blue is on the bottom, Red is on the top. Always very confusing. So let's take a look. Red continuing that bio play. You can see the number of barracks, reactors, Marines all being trained. Meanwhile, Blue trying to go for much more of a mech style. Siege tanks, Hellions, and more siege tanks, even with a Raven. And the Raven is going to be crucial in the next upcoming battle, as the Raven is able to intercept the damage from those Marauders. And we'll see if a point defense drone or an auto turret is used. Both are very viable. Siege tanks do not have siege tech as of yet. One Marine quickly stimming up and will be able to get up on the high ground here. Command center still training or being built off here. This orbital command has already been completed, will be lifting off, as both players still playing pretty conservatively, not really moving out, and we should see a large engagement sometime around the 15-minute mark. These players don't want to engage against each other. They want to make sure that all of their units are close together so that they're able to deal a lot of damage and not necessarily lose a lot of those units. Both of these players don't know in terms of economy who is ahead. Red most likely has a good idea that he is slightly ahead because he is establishing that 3rd base, and also has a 5 harvester advantage. An armory now being added, autosec tracking being trained. So interesting strategy by Blue. Blue opting to go for autosec tracking and using the engineering bay for those other upgrades. Marine quickly getting torched by those Hellions there, as the Hellions now going to try to catch into the center. There are a lot of Marines in the center portion of the map. The Hellions will be getting Blue Flame and now level 1 weapons upgrade, and with that they still won't be able to 2-shot workers as the SCVs will have 45 hit points and the Marines will also have 55. So Blue Flame Hellions not going to really deal that much damage. Marines looking around, it looked like they were able to shoot down something over here as the Hellions are now making their way in. Some SCVs are going to get destroyed. There is one Marauder. The Marauder now coming back around. Another SCV getting destroyed as the Marauder trying to chase after those units. Is it going to be enough? One SCV gets destroyed here. Perhaps some mules will get destroyed, but no, it doesn't look like it's destroyed either. And just really small special tactics trying to deal damage and really not getting away with very much of anything. Planetary Fortress being upgraded here at the 3 o'clock position, and now both players are going to have a difficult time trying to establish that all-important 4th base. The Raven does have a lot of energy now, up to 170 2-point defense drones, and that will cause some problems. There is a much more higher focus on Red for a bio army, even though Red does have a lot of siege tanks. Meanwhile, there is not much of a bio army coming in from Blue. Blue doesn't have a lot of medevacs. He does not have any Marines on the field pretty much at this point, and is going to try to use Hellions, siege tanks, and Banshees. The barracks not currently building anything. Perhaps going to add on a new add-on here in just a moment, as we are now going to be going into double starport and quad factory. The starport is adding on a tech lab. We see that there is one Banshee still hiding off over here. The Marines and the siege tanks may be able to cliff right here and actually start destroying the starport, and that is going to be a bit of an issue. With both starports out of commission for a short time, Vikings and Ravens and Banshees will not be able to be deployed. Siege tanks now looking to perhaps charge up the ramp here. There are supply depots ready to go. What is happening as the Banshee now making its way inside the main base, or the 3rd base here, dealing some damage, getting some easy and quick kills. The Banshee now utilizing its cloaking, making sure that the Marines are unable to shoot it down, as Red, surprisingly without a turret, only a turret off over here, unable to really deal that much damage. The Banshee is still trying to finish this off. It looks like the Banshee is down to 28 hit points, able to escape, as we are now establishing up a 4th and a 5th base by Red. So Red doing a great job there, as a medevac almost shot down to 18 hit points. The Viking does shoot it down though, and now all of these Hellions are gonna just simply destroy the rest of the bio force. Now down over here, it looks like the siege tank was completely destroyed. One siege tank in siege mode, able to protect that, and we'll see whether or not this Banshee will be able to come back and deal any more damage. There is one Marine, 2 Marines here. It looks like this Banshee is going to get up to 12 kills perhaps. Yes, already up to 11 kills, now going after SCVs. SCVs are getting destroyed. The SCVs do have armor, but it's still not quite enough, as one Marine does not get taken down. Natural armor on those Marines for the win here, as we now see a large engagement. Point defense drone intercepting a lot of the attacks. Vikings going after medevacs. Siege tanks now simply pushing forward, and the Banshees in the air are going to clean up the last of these siege tanks. The siege tanks do need a siege load if they want to be able to hold the high ground. And are they going to siege? Point defense drones still doing their job, making it very difficult, as the Banshees are now going to town onto some of those siege tanks. Those siege tanks do need to retreat. One siege tank at least will get taken down. More and more siege tanks may get destroyed. Not quite sure why Red is not retreating with these tanks, as the tank after tank is now getting taken down. 2 tanks down, 1 now in the orange. But Red does have this base established here at the 12 o'clock position, already mining. Meanwhile, Blue is actually behind, and he doesn't know about any of those 2 bases. He also has 12 SCVs idling somewhere. Not quite sure where they are. Where are they? Oh, idling down over here, not rallied into anything at all. So if Red can fight back and hold off this attack, he will be very successful, as there is now one Hellion looking to try to torch and destroy this. Marines now making their way over. Medevacs nowhere to be seen, as you can see that the medevacs are trying to focus down those Banshees, but siege tanks are just getting destroyed and forcing a lot of scanner sweeps. With only 3 orbital commands, a 4th one down over here, perhaps enough scanner sweeps can be used, but there are siege tanks here as well. Thor now finally making its way into the play. Marines able to finish off that last unit there, as the Planetary Fortress and Marines have fended off that attack. Siege tanks now slowly making their way forward. Siege tanks, you can see how much damage is just overlaid here. The Thor now taking a lot more shellings as the Marines and the Marauders may perhaps come in around the far side. Hellion does get taken down, so he knows exactly where those units are. Siege tanks are going to be sieging up in just a moment. Is it going to be enough? Yes, they are going to siege up here. The Marines going to try to charge up the ramp, and they're going to be able to do exactly that. There is a planetary fortress, and now down goes one missile turret. The Marines going after some of those key buildings. Planetary Fortress does have auto-sec tracking, and one command center now down to 200 hit points, but it does look like it will get repaired in time as more siege tanks now making their way back over. Currently sitting on 21 tanks by blue, only 7 tanks or 8 tanks now for red, but there was also one Banshee here with up to 11 kills, so the Banshee's really causing problems as the Harvester kill count up to 29. 63 Harvesters compared to 74 for well, who's at 74 for blue? So blue does have more Harvesters, but he's running on less bases right now, which will be a serious issue. 1-0 upgrades completed for those siege tanks. Perhaps 2-0 will be coming in momentarily. What we need to see is another point defense drone push out as the Marines, Medivacs, Thors, and siege tanks now looking to do another push over here. One Marine looking to destroy this command center. I'm pretty sure a SCV will get underneath there as the Hellions are now trying to race their way over. They're going to find a very large group of Marines, and those 3 Hellions will get taken out. Siege tanks now perhaps trying to get in position, perhaps cutting off some of these units, and this would be huge, splitting apart the army and the units here. There are 2 Banshees, one of them low on hit points, as the battle is still getting ready to go. This one Thor needs to get up onto the high ground and try to protect. That backdoor rocks have been destroyed. Perhaps Hellions will be able to run in along the back there, but the Thor with very nice range, a range of 7, and almost able to one-shot a Hellion should be more than enough to protect this, especially with the planetary fortress there. Siege tanks now starting the siege, and this is a very nice siege line, but he could get flanked, and here we go. Marines and the siege tanks now trying to push in the center. There is 1 point defense drone, and that point defense drone will get quickly taken out. It does not intercept the attack on siege tanks, only the Marauders. Meanwhile, the Hellions are now going to try to charge up the ramp here, take down that planetary fortress, but it looks as though the center planetary fortress will get destroyed, as well as King of the Hill now taking that center high ground location, and things are not looking good. This command center looks like it will get destroyed in just a second. There are a lot more SCVs over here though than here, but this planetary fortress cannot be lifted off. It cannot be saved, as the Banshees now going to town on all of these SCVs. Siege tanks still slowly blasting away. Is it enough though, as there are simply too many siege tanks here to really try to take that high ground? There are Marines now unloading, but now Hellions are going to make their way over. Hellions going to finish off some of those Marines, but there a Marauder shows up, making sure that no more going to be happening there. Now the Banshees trying to go after some of those other buildings. No, missile turret dealing damage back. Low hit point Banshee now in retreat, and where are these siege tanks going to go? They need to try to refocus and get back into a very strong position, making sure that these Marines and these siege tanks are unable to attack them just quite yet. New command center now being established. We are now at 3 bases to 3, but there are mules off here, and this might be enough to continue to give life into red. Red and blue, both players have a large bank, as some SCVs are quickly going to get destroyed. Hellions now making their way over. Even though Hellions are not generally effective against missile turrets, anything in mass number when they cannot attack back is effective enough. But we are now going into Yamato cannon, weapon refit, Terran building armor, auto-sec tracking, level 2 ship upgrades, and with battle cruisers on the way, that is going to spell a lot of problems for blue. Blue is currently not training up any more Vikings. He does not have any more bases to try and establish. The Marines and the Marauders off over here should be able to clean up expansions, and now red just simply needs to wait, get up enough production buildings so that when his army does get destroyed, he's able to remax up to 200 in just a matter of seconds. These units are really out of position, unable to really move forward. We do see 1 Raven in the air, and is it going to be enough? The siege tanks attempting to perhaps fight back here, and we'll see what will happen next. 2 Banshees now making a move forward. It looks as though those Banshees are going to go after some of those Marines. Perhaps cleaning up the siege tanks would be a smart way to go, but unable to do exactly that, as we now see a large group of Hellions coming in along the far side. Siege tanks now going to siege. Nope, the siege tanks deciding against it, and now this is going to be the critical battle. Marines and Marauders with siege tanks now pressing on the front door. There is a planetary fortress here. Looks like it will get taken down. No repairing in time at all, as the siege tanks are going to simply destroy that. They're taking down a key choke point, as the siege tanks are now trying to fight back. This one siege tank able to take down that last siege tank here. And now things are looking bad for blue, even though he has a very large army. Scanner sweep does reveal all the siege tanks now in transit. Mass planetary fortresses once again trying to be reestablished. Here we go. Siege tanks going to start shelling away at all of these command centers here, perhaps trying to go into orbital commands or planetary fortresses to try and defend. The Marines and Marauders now looking to push in on both sides, but the point defense drone doing its job. The Vikings now going to town on the other Vikings, that the Banshees are now going to try to clean this up. It looks as though Red is going to lose almost his entire attack force here, but the Thor may be able to finish off another siege tank or two. Yes, he does finish off one, as now the siege tanks looking to see what they can clean up. More siege tanks coming across the center now. Weapon refit. I still do not see a battle cruiser. Not quite sure what this is about, as the siege tanks are now making and marching across the center of the field. Double battle cruisers now being trained. Don't know how I missed that just seconds ago, as there are now 4 Vikings in the air going up against more and more Vikings. No more Ravens though, meaning that there is no more point defense drones, as blue currently has the food advantage. Siege tanks still at 1-0 upgrades. Vikings now trying to come back around. There is a Raven now in the air, and in comes the point defense drones for Red. And Red, now with a very, very strong air superiority, should be able to clean this up. Vikings arriving to the party very late, after there are already point defense drones. One Viking able to get back into ground mode in time. And we'll see what will be happening next. A new orbital command now trying to land off here. The Banshees now looking to clean up some of the expansions here, as we now see battle cruisers have arrived. The battle cruiser is going to clean up these siege tanks. 2 battle cruisers in the air, a 20 food advantage for blue, but it is still not going to be enough, as he now needs to train up triple Vikings and triple Thors to deal with all of these units. Marauders still chasing after some of those siege tanks getting slowed down. Is it going to be enough, as the orbital command now trying to land or run back away? Siege tanks gonna get destroyed, as the Hellions now finally arrive. This orbital command looking to get back into a safe location. It doesn't look like it will be able to do exactly that. Battle cruisers do have upgrades. There is a missile turret nearby. Perhaps it will take down one of those Ravens. It does. And now more missile turrets being established. 160 versus 144. And so far, the game is going exactly how I expected it to be. Blue just being able to push on the field, but red with a superior economy and stronger base count, as long as he can just hold out a little while longer, should be able to come out ahead. But no, in comes some Hellions. Hellions going to perhaps take down a lot of these Marines. Yes, more Marines are going to get taken down. SCVs are going to get destroyed off over here. All of these SCVs are lining up. They could all get destroyed. Are they going to get lined up and destroyed? Here's the key question. Yes, multiple SCVs getting taken out, but the Hellions are not chasing for some strange reason, and the Marauders and the Marines have reinforced in time. Worker kill count 64 versus 18. Now we are at 68 workers versus 40, but it doesn't matter how many SCVs you have if you don't have anything to mine from. Hellions now going to work on some of these mules. The mules will all get destroyed. That is going to be a severe hit to the economy, even though it doesn't really stop the worker count. I believe that was at least 7 to 8 workers, as new Hellions now trying to come back around, unable to get there, as the Marines and the Marauders had not left the party just quite yet. Hellions going to clean up some Marines and finally deny some of the map control that Red has had with a single Marine throughout much of this game. You can see now there's only 5 mineral patches here, no mineral patches at the natural expansion, no mineral patches at the main, a whole bunch of idle SCVs, 19 idle SCVs with oversaturation, and now it looks like it will be an all-in. There are a lot of Vikings in the air. Yes, 15 Vikings in the air. Perhaps that will be enough scanner sweeps. What is going to be happening now as the SCVs, are the SCVs on auto repair? No, they are not. And now damage is being dealt. The Marines are now trying to come back around. SCVs absorbing a lot of that damage. And now what is going to be happening next? There is a large group of units still off over here. More units getting destroyed here. And this is going to be the last effort, the last stand by blue. Is blue going to be able to finish off this is the question. There is one orbital command. It is currently floating in the air, not going to be able to run away from the sheer number of Vikings. The Vikings just absolutely destroying this, but now we may have a large medevac drop inside the main base here, and that's going to be a problem. There are a lot of missile turrets, and the units are all going to back off. The medevacs are going to have to fly back around here. There is a missile turret there as well. Where can they really land is the question. SCVs, missile turrets, not much going on. There are some Hellions and some siege tanks now being reestablished. 161 versus 161. Blue now, I believe, with still more harvesters, but those harvesters are not going to be able to do very much as the siege tanks are now going to start blasting up onto the high ground. Battlecruiser count only at 3 right now, and we'll see what the Vikings are going to do next as the Vikings now finally provide sight up onto the high ground to start shelling away. Siege tanks destroying the factory, as we also have Marauders and Marines just completely destroying this here. A medevac now picking up and going to be able to take down a siege tank. And that, I believe, was the last unit left inside the base. All of these units have to go ahead and retreat as Vikings, mass Vikings coming in. Point defense drone in the air. They are red point defense drones, and that is going to shift it in favor of red, as red now going to get air superiority. There are battle cruisers underneath. Red trying to perhaps get up another point defense drone, but there is the GG between two Terran players. Very, very well played by red, and we'll see if red will be able to continue and get 2 wins as he goes up in the next game. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope to see you guys on BattleNet.